This is Macy. She's a newer daycare client of ours, and she's going to help me do a little demo today. When I first met her, she wasn't very interested in training. We were doing in-home sessions, and she would mostly hide behind her mom and try to avoid me at all cost. So we took a gamble, and we've been trying daycare, and it's actually been going great. It's not something I would recommend for every dog, but for her personality and her issues, it's seems to kind of be the answer. And so what we're doing today is just the very simple throw away the treats game. And all I'm doing is exactly that. I'm just tossing treats to her. I don't care what she's doing. I'm not looking for her to do anything except to just eat the treats. And all I want her to know is that I'm a person who's just going to throw food at her and give her lots of space and distance. Now, at this point in Macy and I's relationship, I can touch her, I can handle her. Out in the yard, she'll run up and climb all over me, but inside, she can still be a little standoffish. She's just a little unsure. She was not very socialized as a young dog, so she's having to work through a lot of things now, which is why this is a perfect exercise for her, just to get her comfortable with the idea of training. A lot of times, anxious dogs will not take treats. If your dog is not taking treats, it's usually, not always, but a lot of the times, it's because they're feeling too stressed and too much pressure. Me even standing here looking at her with my training pouch on and my treats ready to go can be a lot of pressure for dogs. They can tell that you want something from them. So I'm standing in the corner, giving her plenty of space. You can see my arm right there. I'm standing here, and all I'm doing is chucking treats at her. She's looking out the half door because that's usually where her mom comes from to pick her up, and she loves her mom. And I'm just over in this corner giving her plenty of space, giving her all the freedom of movement in this little area, and just tossing treats. Now, occasionally you'll see that she's starting to look up at me. She's getting a little bit expectant. Where's the next treat coming from? And I want to be really quick to start tossing treats then, because that's kind of where this builds to, that you keep just tossing the treats away with no expectation, letting the dogs pick them up when they want to, not getting discouraged if your dog doesn't immediately pick up the treats. They know they're there as they're feeling comfortable, as they realize that there's nothing else needed here. This is not some sort of trap. They will start eating the treats in most cases. So I'm not worried about getting anything from her in like multiple sessions typically. She's a little bit further along than that. So I can occasionally start waiting a little bit between throwing treats and seeing if I get a little bit more from her. In the beginning, you want to keep the treats coming pretty quickly, just so the dog starts to kind of expect that they're going to come. And then as your dog gets a little bit better at it and they're eating the treats, you can start pausing a little bit and see if you get a little bit more. So just a look. If she looks at me at all, I'm going to quickly throw a treat. I also want to start looking for some stillness, because a lot of this moving around she's doing is kind of nervous energy. She's like, ooh, I don't know about this. I'm not sure this is okay. So she's moving around a lot. So I can start looking for maybe just a little glance in my direction and some stillness. That one was great. She parked all 4 feet and looked at me. Even though it was brief, it was there, and that's what I'm looking for. So keep the expectations low. A lot of times I will do this sitting on the floor, like in a comfortable space where your dog likes to be. You want to have fairly high value treats to start, but I like to mix in some medium to low value food too as it's going well. Now, for a really anxious dog that's really untreat motivated, you might have to do this for multiple sessions for days to get them to understand that you're not going to start barking orders at them. You're not going to be disappointed in them, that they are safe, and it's okay to try some things. She's doing really well here. A couple times it kind of looks like she's looking up at me, but she's actually air scenting. I think she's trying to figure out what's going on in the back. She does get along pretty well with some other dogs, but she's still a little bit nervous about the amount of dogs that come through the building. So we're working through just a lot here. But again, expectations are at like ground zero. We are not worried about a lot. We just want to see her picking up the treats and eating them. And if we get some looks, if we get her to move closer to me, great. Eventually, what I would like for her to do is to be able to like walk up next to me and I can drop the treat at my feet. But again, that's multiple sessions off. Here you see that was kind of a good one, except then she lost the treat where she was fairly close to me and she looked at me. This is just throwing treats at dogs. Do not overcomplicate this. I try not to talk to them at all when I'm doing this. I might give the occasional like, good girl, or you're doing so great, or something very softly. But for the most part, I want to try to keep my voice out of it too, because even adding our voice, even in a positive way, can add a little bit of pressure, because they a lot of times start associating that with, oh, cues are coming or something else is coming that I'm not sure of. So try just to be very quiet, try to be very patient, try not to expect anything more of your dog than just to get them used to the idea that when you're hanging out throwing treats at them, all they have to do is eat the treats. If they get to the point where they're immediately eating the treats, then you're in a pretty good spot to start asking for just a little bit more. So this is like just the very, very beginning of building some treat drive, building a training foundation, and building a little bit of a relationship and some trust. You see, every treat that I do throw, she's taking them. She likes her treats. She likes food. And she's actually doing really well with everyone that she encounters in the building. But we would like to just start asking her for a little bit more, So here she stood nice and still and gave me a good look. I liked that one a lot. I would also love to introduce her to a clicker, but we're a ways off from that yet because I feel like that noise would be too much for her. And you see, she keeps going back to that door. She's like, Mom might come through any minute and get me out of this situation. And that's okay. As she gets better about this, she's going to be able to stay with me and not be so worried about what's going on outside the door. Now, this is Leia, Macy's good friend, but Leia actually has a solid training foundation. She actually lived with me for a year, and she can show you what this behavior is supposed to look like eventually. So it's still just throwing treats. I'm still not giving any cues or asking for anything, but Leia can come right back to me and even offer a really good sit and some really good solid eye contact. So this is what this can build to. If you just take it slow and build up your dog's confidence, they'll get to this level.